we're gonna do. I wanted to check in with you guys on the homework from last time and how you guys were doing with that. Do you remember what the homework was? Let's start there. Yeah, Tyler's got a half smile. He's like, yeah, maybe.
Oh,
Um, so the one last time was the market narrative, right? The what's going on in the market and why it matters to the seller. Then the CMA slide, right? Not giving too much information about the CMA unless your seller is the type of person that likes all the numbers, right? We really recommended a one page just visual. And then the pricing conversation script, right? Where we should put the property based on the market and all the data that we have. How'd you guys do with that homework? Did it feel right? Was it helpful? I mean, for those of you who are new in the business or been doing this for a while, setting this up this way, was that good?
It's pretty easy using Remy.
That's true. Yep. That's,
I mean, aside from the CMA part, but the wording for everything else, as long as
yeah,
you give it the gist of what you're trying to get at, it's pretty easy to just throw in your listing presentation and get out the door.
perfect. Yep. That's exactly. And you can tweak it, right? Because you can talk to it like a person or like, yeah, that doesn't really sound like me. Change this way. Um, I know that we have had some agents who have told me they've been using it for pulling comps. And so if you give it the address, it will pull comps.
Huh.
Not all the comps are perfect, right? Think of it like an unpaid intern. So not all of them are perfect. You still got to go through them, but it definitely whittles them down. hmm Tyler, how about you? What about all of these homework pieces? Is this something you regularly have a conversation with your sellers?
Um, yeah, I mean, well, people are always asking about the market narrative. That's for sure. I don't normally provide like a quick CMA like that. Usually I just go to the property, take my notes and give them the overall one. I
Mhm.
usually send them a summary plus my CMA. So that way they have it summarized into 1 to 2 pages. Otherwise, it's like 66 pages long. It's stupid. Makes us look
Wait,
more important than we are.
exactly. Way too much information. Nobody's reading
Yeah.
that. Yeah. Okay. How about the pricing conversations? Do you have those pricing conversations at the table with your sellers?
Always. Yeah.
Oh,
Typically, I always break it down into this is your sell it now price, this is where I recommend price, and this is your pipe dreams price. So,
oh, there you go. That's a good way. Yeah. How many
yeah.
of your sellers end up picking the pipe dream price?
A majority. So
I bet.
I think I'm gonna start lowering that, by the way.
It's probably a good choice, right? So in
Yes.
COVID times, pipe dream was great, right? We would do the CMA and we would up it by 10% when we would list a
Yes.
property
A
because the market was
lot of them.
moving so fast, right? Now we're changing a little bit. We're getting back into a balanced market. So those strategies change with time. hmm Jay, how about you? Do you do these things with your listing stuff?
I frame it, and a lot of times it's the importance of pricing correctly and getting that
hmm
audience in front of you and how important it is with that first impression.
Yep. Yep. That pricing conversation. Yep. That's huge. Yep. All the marketing in the world will not sell your property if you're not priced correctly. hmm
I really, really hate testing the market.
Yes. You do not want to be the one to test, right? That's why we harvest expireds afterwards, is that they tested the market. And we didn't have to waste our time or money to do that. hmm Keegan, how about you? How'd you do with the homework?
Okay, let's look. we've got the, let's see. Oh, I did all of week ones finally, so that's pretty cool, first of all. Um, I got through, yeah, I would say that same thing with the script, like the pricing conversation script, and actually like writing out how to talk about a strategy, I guess, rather than just here's the math, let's just price it here, right? Like actually working through like this is why the math is here, right? We're not in COVID anymore. So I think that's a big thing because for me, I have a bunch of people still that are like, literally, I just had a seller that's 100,000 plus over, and it's only like a 300 and some thousand dollar property. Like it was so vastly different from what the comps were showing. But it's because they were pulling comps from like 2021, and I'm like, well, that was 5 years ago, right? Like look at what's happened in the market in the last 5 years compared to where we are right now, right? So like actually explaining that conversation and like, and I don't know, figuring out where your seller is, why they're so stuck on their price, and then working with that, right? And like kind of catering to that. But mhm.
Absolutely. So how'd that conversation go with your seller then?
Um, it went fine. I don't know. I think the other funny thing is that she's actually a realtor out in North Dakota,
Mm.
and she had it priced like $100,000 over. So it went okay. She has it still listed on Zillow. She doesn't want it on the MLS because she doesn't want to list it where I told her to list it at. But it is on Zillow for $150,000 over, but it's been listed for a year and a half and she hasn't even reduced the price. So it didn't go great, I guess, but at least she heard me. She didn't get angry at me or anything. It was just okay. I'm just gonna keep it on Zillow for another year and a half, I guess. So there's that.
Right. Okay. All right. So it wasn't, sometimes it's not what they want to hear, right?
Yep.
And that's okay. But you had the conversation.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah. Good. So how are you guys doing with all of the homework in general? Have you been doing it? Have you been not? Are you ready for the in-person next week? Are you
I'm
going to
not ready for
come?
the in-person, but I've been laying everything out. I have it on my
Okay.
wall. I have pieces of paper instead of post notes because the notes are getting too big.
Okay. Yep. So kind of getting your flow together
Yep,
and all of the things that you should talk about. Yep, that's great.
kind of to
Okay.
a degree, but yeah, it's kind of funny. I couldn't find one and it fell off and actually fell into my bed. That made me kind of laugh.
Oh,
I guess I'm not using that one.
uh, that's right. That's the universe telling you you don't need that one. Um, yeah, good. Okay. So then at the end of this meeting today, I'll ask everybody about next week and meeting in person and what that looks like for everybody's schedule, and we'll go from there. Um, and so that's a little up in the air at the moment until we have that conversation. But today we wanted to talk about why you. So we've talked about the 17 building blocks of your presentation in general, right? We've talked about the marketing of the property, the CMA, the pricing conversations, how to have those conversations with your seller, how to set the property up in the market that makes sense based on the stats that you've pulled. But now we want to talk about why you. How many of you have had those conversations with your sellers? Well, why should I hire you over XYZ down the street, right? And what that looks like. What marketing are you going to do for the property, right? The whole answer about the why you should be talking about that in your listing presentation before they bring it up. If you go through the whole CMA, and this happens all the time, they go through the CMA, they're like, this is how we should do it. And the next question out of the seller's mouth is like, well, why should we pick you? Why are you our favorite person? So you need to be ready and have that in your listing presentation. Now, I would recommend that you don't put it in the listing presentation that you send to your seller. This is something where you need to be having the conversation with them at the time, right? As you're doing the market narrative and the CMA slide and the pricing conversation script with the seller there at the table, The next thing that you should be jumping into is then why you. Now that we know all of this information, Mr. and Mrs. Seller, I want to tell you why I'm the best person to help you achieve your goals. Are you open to that? How many of you watched our conversations to conversions video that we did last fall, where we talked about using different words to talk to clients to get them to open up? I guess I can't see everybody.
I have not yet.
Yeah. I know. Tyler, were you on that one? I know Keegan was.
Yes, I was.
Yeah. Yeah. I will send that out. That'll be part of the stuff here so that you guys can have access to it quick to be able to see it. But part of telling people why you is making sure that you're positioning your wording so that you're not bragging, right? Your goal is not to brag, not to put down the other real estate agents that have also been at the property. Your goal is to show them your difference and why that's good for their goals. Okay. Well, one of the questions that I would always get from sellers is, well, what are you going to do to market my property, right? How is your marketing different than anybody else? And to be quite honest, most of our marketing is the same as everybody else. We all can, every agent can do videos. They do put it on the MLS. They can put an ad in the paper. They can run advertising on Facebook, right? They can do retargeting. Most of our marketing that we have available to us as agents is pretty much the same across the board. What the seller truly needs, and they don't even fully know that they need this because all the real estate gurus online are telling them that they need to know what the marketing plan is. They need leadership within the transaction. They need a trusted individual um, that will guide them through all of the steps. Marketing is just one of those steps. We're talking staging, negotiations, title issues, inspection issues. Maybe you're going to go help them move, right? Dealing with any showing issues. So when you change the conversation from, just I'm different because I market more. You change the conversation to I'm different because marketing is just one of those pieces. And here are all the other things that I also do for you. My leadership, I'm here as your guide. I am here to give you all of the information, all of the knowledge that I have, and allow you to make an informed decision. Did anyone use that type of script when they talk to a seller, when the seller asks about marketing? No? Did he shaking his head? Not really?
Nope.
No. I will tell you, it changes the conversation. It shows the seller that marketing is really just a small piece of what our overall job is. And that does differentiate us in the market big time. Part of differentiation is being clear about your process and the outcomes. Marketing is just one of those, right? But I'm different because here's what my process is. We're going to list the property as withheld, and we're going to help you stage it. We're going to get our pictures, and we're going to do this first. Then we're going to put it in coming soon. And we put it in coming soon so that we can get as many buyers as possible to see the property before we start allowing showings. So we're going to put it in coming soon. Then when we go active on the market and we do allow showings, we're going to do an open house. And we're going to invite all of your neighbors to come over and see the property an hour before the open house starts because neighbors like to pick their neighbors. And then we're going to open it up and do an open house for everybody else. Then, as a process, if we get 10 showings or 10 days goes by, and we do not have an offer, we need to be looking at our price adjustment. We need to be looking at our property itself and why we don't have that. Now, I will tell you, the 10 showings in 10 days doesn't work for every market, doesn't work for every property, right? You're going to have to change that up a little bit. If you have $1 million property, and I guess really $1 million property is selling pretty quickly right now. But the $800,000 properties, those aren't selling as quickly, right? So those are on the market for 60 days. Well, maybe you wait a little longer than 10 days. Maybe you wait 15 instead. Okay. So one of the first things, and Jay Brandon had told me that you know this one, the USP, the unique selling proposition. We also call it in real estate the UVP. Okay. And this is something, so these I will send out with all of our stuff. But this will help you get your clarity on why sellers should choose you. Tyler, why should a seller choose you?
Good question. I usually am much better at responding to that, but
I kind of put you on
just
the
because I'm
spot.
going to be straightforward and honest, I'm not gonna deceive them to make them believe one way. And I'm just going to work hard for them. And I have plenty of testimonials that I can show that prove that I'm worth what you pay me.
Yep. And we'll get to that proof part in a minute. So while we're doing an hour class on this, when you have these conversations with your sellers, it's just as easy as what Tyler had just said. This is what my value is. I don't bullshit you. I give you the information, I allow you to make the decisions, and I'm here to be your trusted guide in this. And here are my testimonials to prove that that's exactly what I do. Here are other clients who are in your position. And that's a part of this whole piece about your value proposition. Okay. So, unique value proposition. They want clarity. They choose agents based on clarity of your plan, of why you are the person for them, right? And this is a wonderful little worksheet that helps you build your USP, unique selling proposition, or UVP, unique value proposition. The first question you need to ask yourself is, who do you help? Is it just broad? Is it just a seller? You just help sellers, just in general? Or do you want to make a different value proposition for each type of seller? Here's my unique value that I give to my lake home sellers. Here's my unique value that I give to my acreage. Here's my unique value to my first time sellers. We talk about first time home buyers all the time. Well, first time sellers are a thing too. They need more hand holding, just like first time home buyers. Do you have a unique value for them compared to someone who's bought and sold 80 different houses in their lives? Pick one. If you want to go big, go ahead and go big, right? Who you help, how you help them, why your approach works, and then what the outcome becomes for the sellers. And what you want to do is you want to turn this into an easy statement, right? Most sellers choose to work with me because based on the numbers, I sell properties 20 days sooner than the market average, which means you are able to move on with your life and go find your next things faster. Here's my testimonials. Here's my data. How many of you have thought of it in this way? When you really break it down, I'm sure all of you have had these conversations with sellers, right? But when you actually break it down, why do sellers choose you? Maybe you don't know. Maybe you don't know why your sellers have chose you. You said something good at some point and they did choose you. Maybe you need to call your old sellers and say, hey, listen, I'm looking at figuring out what my best value is in my business. Why did you choose me as the agent? Was it just because of the brokerage name that I was with? Because that's sometimes a reason. For our new agents in particular, lean on the brokerage. You might not have a bunch of testimonials from old clients showing that you are what you say your value is, right? So lean on the brokerage. Most sellers choose to work with me and my brokerage because we have been in the market for over 40 years and we have a wealth of knowledge that allows me to service you well. You can obviously make it prettier than that. Now, do you guys want to write your USP? Do you have one that you can think of, like as you've been talking to sellers that you want to share? Keegan, how about you? Why do most sellers work with you?
Because I'm the best. Geez, KT. Everyone knows that. Um,
Uh,
no, I would say I have I've gotten a lot of people, one, they see my marketing, so I'm staying top of mind consistently over and over and over. So that's the first thing is that um I don't really think there's many other agents in Park Rapids that they're like consistently seeing on a regular basis, right? So I think part of it's that, but it's also good marketing, right?
mhm.
So they're like, wow, if I'm seeing these houses this many times, that means other people are going to see my house this many times, right? So that's part of it. The other part of it is that I am like pretty responsive as far as like getting back to them quickly. And if even if I can't like pump out a CMA in 2 days, like I at least be like set that expectation of I'm pretty booked the beginning of the week, or I'm out of town the beginning of the week, or whatever it is, but I will have this to you by Friday, right? Like set that expectation. And so, like, there's just, and when you do that, that first impression of like one, the response time being quick. And by quick, I mean like ASAP, right? Like if you see the email come in, just respond to it, right? Um, and then be setting that expectation of like what are they asking for, and then when can I get it to them and make sure that they know that. So I think that first impression is huge and then sets the rest of it up for success because your communication is on par, right? So I would say that's big, those two
Yeah.
things together. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Communication is huge. Here's the deal. We might think that communication is not something that would be your value, but it is. How many agents have you had to call 4 or 5 different times? You as an agent who have a buyer for their listing, and you have to knock down their door to be able to get them to answer you. That is the number one complaint that clients have about real estate agents is the lack of communication. Now, most of us, all of you guys here, I'm sure are communicating with your clients as quickly as possible, right? They're your number one priority. Your broker's calling, they can wait. You're talking to your client, right? That's exactly how it should be. But you guys are here. You guys are trying to make yourself better and grow and do better. Not, but that is a value that you give to your client. And maybe for that specific client that you're talking to, that makes sense for them. They just had a really bad experience with another agent. They said, he listed my property and then I didn't hear from him for 3 months. Well, no problem, Mr. Seller. This is what I do to communicate. This is what I do to make sure you're taken care of. Which means your stress level is lowered because you know what's going on. So you can relax and we can make decisions together to make sure your home gets sold, gets sold. Now, when you talk to your sellers, part of it is you have to introduce your unique value proposition. Now, if they ask the question, great, right? Why should I choose you? But if you're doing it right, they shouldn't have to ask the question. And so to stop this feeling like bragging, it's really good to set up the question to introduce your value proposition. And so these are just some couple different answers. So as you're thinking about this and doing this, you're going to take this framework that'll be filled out when you fill out this piece, and you're going to add some kind of opening, and that's going to be your 60-second Why Me script. Hey, we've talked about all of the marketing, or we've talked about the market and your CMA and all of the comps that we've pulled. Would it be helpful if I shared how I typically help sellers like you win in this market? And you wait for their answer. If you're open to it, I'll show you my approach, how my approach helps sellers feel confident from day one. And then you go into why most sellers choose you. So I say we do this training for an hour, right? This little conversation should be pretty quick. This is why. Then allow them to ask questions. Okay. Now, the next piece is the marketing plan. All agents have a basic marketing plan. It is set in the listing contract. That is the standard. We will, as agents, do these things. Advertise the property, put a sign in the yard, list it on the MLS. We will do these things. That's set in the listing contract. Part of what the seller wants to hear is your process, which is not just the actual marketing, right? Like I'm going to do a boost ad through my CB desk and this is what that does. Or I'm going to put it on Facebook. I'm going to do a video and we're going to retarget people who watch that video. That's not the only part of the marketing plan that they need to know about. So you need to walk through your marketing plan, right? And this is just a basic, but you should have 3 different train compartments, I guess, if you're thinking of this like a train, 3 different pieces of your marketing. The pre-launch, the launch, and then the adjustments, right? So that pre-launch is going to be professional photos, staging, whether or not you have the property and withheld or not, which is always what I recommend. Get that listing contract signed, get a withheld form before you start doing lots of work. Making sure that the price is in alignment with both the seller's goals and what the market's there. Putting it on the MLS, making sure all the information is correct on the MLS. What your open house strategy is going to be to get that momentum, to get it in front of as many people as possible. Maybe coming soon is part of this, right? Capture your feedback early. Talk about showing time. Most sellers don't know that we have access to this digital database that not only logs all showings for the property, but then gives feedback. Sellers think that's the coolest thing since sliced bread because you're not waiting. It's right there. On another note, if you're not giving feedback as soon as you're done showing your buyer property for the day, you need to be. It's just good practice. But talk to your seller about how you're going to capture feedback, right? What those online engagement numbers are. Are we way out of line? Did the really cool flower picture that the seller really loved that they wanted to be the first picture actually create no online engagement? After you list the property, what are you going to do with the seller to make sure that you're getting that feedback? How many of you use List Track? Yeah. Okay, List Track is fantastic. Your office administrator is the one who sets it up when you have your new listing. It sends you a weekly email for online engagement, where your property is being viewed, how many times it's being viewed. It's a great tool. Share that. Share it with your seller. The showing time, the showing feedback, and the buyer agent feedback is super helpful to know whether or not you've aligned the property with the market. Because sometimes we also have biases, and the comps that we pull might not be the right comps. So we need to be ready to move and then adjust, right? The 10 days or 10 showings. We need to move and adjust so that we can make sure that the property gets sold in a timely manner and doesn't sit on the market for 6 months. Tyler, what's usually your process for adjustments for your sellers?
My adjustments made off
Mm-hmm.
of, condition of the property.
Mm-hmm.
You got all that.
Like when you put it on the market, right? You've gotten some showings, you've gotten some feedback. You know as an agent that some adjustment needs to happen.
Hmm.
What metrics do you look at to then prompt your seller to adjust?
Well, a lot of times you can print off a showing time summarization of the feedback, so you can kind of go over that.
Mhm.
But typically, if the property's still sitting, it's probably overpriced. That's usually how it works.
Yeah. Sometimes it's the pictures. Sometimes you can try changing a picture on the front, seeing if that gets more. But you're right. It's
I
usually
think mine
price.
froze.
I I can hear you, but I can't see you. This should be part of your unique value proposition. What is your three-part marketing plan? How are you going to do these steps? And it should be in a pretty easy, again, these shouldn't, we talk about it for a long time so that you guys can think about all of the pieces, all of the parts, but this should be really quick. Should be a 30-second explanation of your marketing plan. First, we do this, then we do this, then we do that.
So Katie, you're taking that three-part marketing plan and you're putting it into a 30-second explanation.
Yep.
Okay, so you're not going into detail what we're doing.
No, you can. Absolutely. If that's something that you want to do for your marketing stuff, you can. But when you're talking about your unique value proposition, because we don't want it to sound braggy, it should be short, right? But you do need to talk about how you're different than other agents. Maybe other agents don't do the coming soon because they don't like it because it's more paperwork. Maybe they don't stage. Maybe they don't believe in showing time feedback. Maybe they don't have access to those online metrics.
Well, I know there are brokerages that don't have it, that don't use it.
Yeah, that's exactly. List Track, uh, just fun fact. List Track used to be a free service through Northstar, and then they took that away. It's now a paid service. Not all agents will pay for it. We have access to it through our Coldwell Banker affiliation. Because we're a Coldwell Banker, we have access. It's part of their value to us. So that is something that differentiates us as Coldwell Banker agents from everybody else in the market. hmm So this should be 30 seconds. Should be easy. Now, is your seller going to ask questions in this? And are you going to talk about it a little more? Absolutely, which is why you need to make sure that you have your bullet points together, right? Your pieces together so you can talk about it more knowledgeably than just 30 seconds. But when you're talking about your unique value proposition of why the seller should use you, that's all we're talking about today. This should be really quick. 30 seconds. Okay. Any questions so far? There's a lot of pieces that go into your unique value proposition, which is why we're spending one whole session on just this. What makes you different? Okay. Speaking of, why you and why now? This is where your testimonials, this and the proof of value here that we'll get to in just a minute, is where your testimonials will come into play, right? Why you over somebody else? Like Keegan said, because she's just the best and everybody knows that, right? Why your brokerage over another brokerage? Why Coldwell Banker Crown? Is it because we're the oldest in the industry? Is it because we have our pulse on the market in general? Is it because of the marketing? My line that I used all the time for my brokerage was Coldwell Banker has the biggest national and international reach that you could possibly get. That's just from the overall brand. You will be surprised how many people pick you as an agent because of your brokerage, because of the Coldwell Banker name. So lean into that, especially as a new agent. Lean into that. Why your process? Why does your process work over something different? My process of doing a withheld, the coming soon, the open house, and then putting the property active for showings on the market results in more people seeing the property, staging the number one, staging the property and getting professional photography so that we can show the property in the best light in our advertising, getting that advertising out to as many people as possible, allowing all our neighbors to come through so that we aren't wasting our time, right? Showing the nosy neighbor a property. And that results in why this matters to you, Mr. Seller, is that this creates hype for your property that then will sell it faster. And that's why I'm different from others, because this is how my process works and this is why it matters. Okay. We also came up with some scripts, right, on how to open up to this differentiation. Most agents most sellers choose their agent based on how confident they feel in the plan. Can I walk you through mine? Would it be helpful if I shared what tends to matter most to sellers when choosing an agent? And if any of you watched our conversations to conversions, one, all we talked about all of these opening statements. If you're open to it, I'll explain how I approach this so you can decide if it feels right for you. And then this really, I meant to move this. This soft close option should be at the very end, but you can soft close after you give your unique value proposition. If you're a hard closer, go ahead and hard close, right? Are you ready to sign a listing contract now? What stops you from signing a listing contract today? I was a very much more like the soft close person. Like, okay, so what's your plans going forward? Is there any other questions that I didn't answer for you? How does this marketing feel to you? Is this the support that you were looking for? Are you ready to sign a listing contract or would you need a day? Not everybody's a soft closer. Some people are a hard closer, and that's okay too. It really depends on your client across the table. Hmm. Okay, last piece is the proof of value. So this is what Tyler was talking about with his testimonials, right? Is that you can say all of those other things that we talked about today, you can say those all day long. Not all sellers are going to take you at face value. They're going to want something to show that you do what you say you're going to do. Do, right? Now, there's a couple ways to do this. Client testimonials, right, is definitely one of them. A short review. So either client testimonial of this is what my agent did for me, and this is how they did it, right? So that's your review. Your testimonial is Tyler was so wonderful. He helped me sell my house. Definitely use that agent. Doesn't really tell the client like your value, right? Just says you're wonderful, which for Keegan, that's her value. So that totally works. But when you do a short review, what you're asking your client is to actually write why you helped them through something, how you did it. So it's a little more one-on-one. It's a little more than just a client testimonial. Some clients write their testimonials just like that, a short review, right? That they walk into, you know what? Jay was able to come into my house and we had this terrible title problem that we had to deal with. And Jay walked me through every step. He held my hand and we were able to get it to closing. Not in the time frame that I wanted, but I felt confident throughout the process because Jay was on top of it. That's a short review. So pick your favorite seller. Go ask them. Will you write me a short review? Pick your seller that you've had the most recent problem with, right? The other piece about the proof, though, about the testimonies, is you can tell a story, right? So I don't know if any of you've read the Story Brand Framework. It's by Donald Miller, I think. Yep, Donald Miller. So the Story Brand Framework walks through the system of how to tell a story. And that's what you're doing with these testimonials, right? Number one, there's a person. Number two, there's a problem. Number three, there's a hero. Guess who the hero is? It's you guys, right? Number four, the hero guides. Number five, six, seven is how the story ends, right? And it's a really good way. The story brand framework is obviously not how to write a book. It's about how to tell your story. This is how I do. This is what I do. The other thing that you can do is actual results proof. Here's my data proving that I sell homes 20 days faster than the average. And here's the average. Here's my data proving that I get my sellers 2% more when I sell their home versus the average in our market. It's another piece of proof. You have to back up what you say. Okay. One of the other processes, one of the other pieces is the process proof, how you create your outcomes, right? Keegan and Jay do wonderful walkthrough videos. And so here's how many views we've had on these walkthrough videos, and this is how fast this property sold. Proof your process works. We've already talked about the process during the marketing plan builder, right? Proof that your process works. Here's how it worked last time for this seller. Every time you go to a listing appointment, you are asking for a job. You are going through a job interview every time. So having proof to back up all of these wonderful things that we say is important. And again, these are short. All of these things should happen in about a 10-minute span when you're sitting in front of the seller. Okay. Talks about the proof of value framework. Again, the conversations to conversions. Ask permission. As you're setting this up, would it be helpful if I showed you how this typically works for my sellers? Would it be helpful if I told you about a seller that I just had that I helped through this process? And then share one. All of these unique value propositions should be based on your client, not on you. What does your client need out of you? A client who's an interior decorator whose house is gorgeous isn't going to care about my unique value proposition of being a stager. They're not going to care. Also, part of this proof of value. You can have 5 testimonials ready to go. You can have 5 proof of concept ready to go, but just share one. Just share the best one that matches your seller at the time. That ties right back into the next one. Tie it back to them, right? It matters because of them and their situation. How many of you change your listing presentation before you go to a listing based on that seller? I bet you do, right? A seller who's a hoarder, you're probably going to push more into staging, right? Jay, I saw you come off mute.
Yeah, I would say you read the room and you also not only read the room when you're there. I mean, a lot of times I'll adjust on the fly based on the context of what I'm seeing in their eye
Hmm.
contact, their response to what I'm talking about. If let's just say it's a couple, one's engaged and the other one's just kind of sitting back and like, okay, I need to get that person back and engaged.
Yeah.
May have to change the tone because it's, you got one person that's analytical and one person that's highly emotional.
Hmm.
And yeah, I mean, I just had one last week where the husband's like, if you can give me that price, I will sign tomorrow. And the wife was like, no, 'cause we have so much stuff to get rid of. So then it was a matter of you need
Right.
assistance. So I quickly transitioned over to, I could tell she was going to be the reluctant one.
Hmm. Perfect. Which is why we do these exercises now, so you can jump on the fly, just like you did, right? You're like, oh, my unique value has now changed because Mr. Seller's good to go, but Mrs. Seller needs help.
Mhm.
Mrs. Seller has we call them objections, right? But really, it's where we can help to get them to their goal. When you change your listing presentation and your unique value proposition based on the seller, it shows. It shows that you've taken time to think about them and their goals and their process and what they feel comfortable with. And you're taking that into account. And I don't know about you, but I feel really good when someone does that for me, when I feel heard and seen, and I'm not just one more cog in the listing machine for this agent. Okay, we are almost out of time. Your homework will be to do these things and come up with your unique value proposition. Okay? Remember to keep it short. These shouldn't be long. If you want to do multiple ones, maybe you can get some extra credit. If you want to do multiple 4 different sellers, different markets, different types, you absolutely can. Okay. What questions do you guys have? Anything? Nothing? Are you overwhelmed? Is this too much? Does it
A lot
help
here.
better?
There's a lot here. Yes, there's a lot here.
Yeah.
I hadn't really thought about before. I mean, yeah, really opened my eyes to how much of my listing presentation is gapping.
Yeah. That's fair. That was the whole point, right? We have less inventory. Fighting for listings is a bigger deal. Yeah.
I guess my biggest question is going forward, how are we presenting this information to them? What format? Is it
Yeah.
via technology? Is it going to be paper? Is it going to be a professional printout that you leave
Mhm.
or you have? That's the area that I mean, we have that Canva template, but how is it being shared and presented?
Yeah. Good question. It depends on your client. I'm going to give a lawyer answer. Sorry. Depends on your client, right? If your client is a paper person, then you're probably going to drop it off on paper. Then you're probably going to come with the packet to them. Yeah. If they're internet savvy, right? If they don't have any paper in their house when you're there the first time, they probably would just prefer email. How does everybody else do their seller? Do they do their listing or do they send their listing presentations um based on client or do they just always do online because it's easier? Or always do printed out because you send it to a printer and you get it all glossy and gorgeous and then makes yourself look very professional. What do you guys do?
All of the above. I send
Oh,
an email copy and I show up with paper in hand and my laptop if I have to do it just on the computer.
okay. Absolutely.
Katie,
Yes.
it's Joy. I had one on Friday. It was my first ever, basically. It was a Zoom interview, and
Hmm.
I had never stepped foot in their house or their cabin that they want to sell. So I had no idea if they were paper or not. So I went over everything in the Zoom call, and then I sent her a follow-up email a couple days later, and I sent her a paper in the mail. So I just tried to cover all my bases.
Yeah. And sometimes you don't know. So sometimes that's what you have to do, right? Yeah. Keegan, how about you? Do you tailor it to the client or do you always send your presentation one way?
Tailor it to the client. I've had
Hmm.
like first time home buyers don't want paper in their house. They actually despise it. Typically, I'm talking like the younger first time home buyers, right? That generation despises paper. They get mail in their mailbox and they're immediately annoyed because it could have been an email, right? So I definitely tailor it, but then I also have like the older, I would say honestly like 70s plus is where I've like noticed where they want paper. But I don't know.
Hey,
It kind of depends.
Hmm.
It kind of depends, I guess,
Yeah.
on the client. Um, but that's typically what I've found. And honestly, I've also had like I would say the middle period get both, right? Because I honestly, excuse me, I honestly don't know which one they would prefer and sometimes they don't know either, right? Like on like they just don't. So they'll just say, well, maybe just both with a
that's
Hmm.
question
what I
mark,
do.
right? And
That is
so
what
a
I
lot of
do.
them get both. So,
Hmm.
At TJ Maxx, do you want your receipt emailed or printed? I'm like, both.
yep.
Right.
Yeah.
And that's fair. Here's the other piece, Jay. It's a really good question. Here's the other piece. Um, Once you get very good at doing all of these things, you don't always have to write down your unique value proposition, your marketing plan, because you can rattle it off right there. Or you already have a page in your listing presentation that you've already dropped off, right? And so this can be The value proposition can be just verbal. This is why I'm different. And then you don't have to change it every time, right? Because you can tailor it. But part of getting it written down in a set area, thinking about it every time, doing it every time for your sellers will teach you all of the different pieces, right? And once you get those scripts down, I hate the word scripts, but once you get those scripts down, then maybe you don't need to do a written one anymore. There's a lot of agents I know who are very successful who don't do a written listing presentation. They just don't.
I never have.
Right.
Mine's all verbal.
Yeah. And
I
so
mean, I
here's the
have
deal.
information with me in a packet, but a lot of times
Mhm.
it's walking through. But most of my clients that have shifted since I joined platform marketing, most people that are calling me for a listing presentation already know who I am and what I do.
Mhm.
So it's already a
Absolutely.
lot warmer. And they already know me. They know about me. They know who my
Mhm.
family is. They've read all my reviews. I don't have to have proof of concept.
Yeah. Because it's there already, right? Because that's your
Yeah.
before.
So, I mean,
Yep.
that's where I have nothing in regards to a format because the structure is there. But I jump around based on the feedback of basically what the client is. I direct it, but I will adjust as I need.
Yeah. And that's totally fine because we have to be flexible. I was just telling a lender last night, like agents will RSVP to events all the time, right? And then not show up because they have other things that come up in their schedule. Agents are flexible to the max. That includes your listing presentation, right? So when you're first starting, if you are winning 95% of your listing appointments that you go on, don't do this process. You got it. You got it already, right? If you're not winning 95% of those listing appointments, there is something missing. And so this process, this whole listing lab that we've done is to help you get to the point where you realize what that piece is that's missing, right? So then you got to go back to the drawing board, do the listing presentation for a while until you get back up to that 95. I would love 100%, but I feel like that's not realistic. But back up to that 95%. If you're winning 95% of your listing appointments and you're not using a presentation, you're doing great. That's fantastic.
I'm not there.
That's fair. Most people aren't. Yes. Yeah. Okay. So my next question is, our next one is supposed to be in person. And we wanted you guys to actually test out your unique value proposition, your marketing plan, dealing with sellers' objections, all of us together in one place. As we were looking at where to do this, it's going to be at least 2 hours away from our farthest offices. That's just kind of how we are, how all of our offices are spread out, right? How do you guys feel? And are you available next Wednesday at 9 o'clock to meet in person?
Where at?
It would be somewhere in the middle. So we were thinking Wadena, but that might be a little far for our Crosby people.
If I can get out of floor duty, KT, I can go whenever.
What? You can always ask for somebody to cover. Marv would be happy to.
Exactly. No, I'm good for whatever. My Wednesday can be pretty flexible. So
Okay. Regina, how about you?
Yeah, I don't know. It's kind of one of those things where I probably won't know until like Monday how my week
Okay.
is going to shape up. So I would not, if you're thinking of trying to make somewhere closer to Fargo, I would not do that for the sake of the other folks. You know what I mean?
You are important too, just so you know.
You
Okay.
liar.
Where would we go in Wadena, Katie? That would maybe be a valid question too, because a lot of places I think are like kind of closed just because it's February, March. But
Yep. So the Chamber of Commerce has a really good meeting room in their
oh,
area down there
perfect.
by the train tracks. And so, I mean, we might hear the train, I guess, but it would be perfect for our size, right? It's not a huge
Right.
meeting
Yep.
room, but yeah. So that's kind of tentatively that's where our thought process is.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Jay, how about you? What's your thoughts?
I'm good. I'm just not prepared, but I will wing it.
Uh, yeah,
That's
but
the hard part for me is I don't have a formal presentation, so I've got a lot of homework to do, and I missed last week, so
oh, sure.
I didn't pick up the week two till yesterday morning, so
Okay. All right. Yep.
I'm behind. And I did have one more question, Katie.
Sure.
Where do we find that the personal statistics that you were talking about?
Mm.
This is how I sell. This is what my average percent sale price. Where was that at again?
Yeah, so that's going to be on our YouTube page. I will send that out in all the
Okay.
stuff that I showed today, I'll send out today, as well as links to the conversations and conversions video and the how to find your numbers video. So you can look at
Perfect.
your numbers specifically. Yep.
Yep, that's what I couldn't remember where it was at.
Yep. Yeah, our YouTube page is getting a little too big. It's getting harder for agents to find the things that they're looking for, which is good and bad. Hmm. Okay, so Jay, you're okay with meeting in person? Joy, how
I
about
would be,
you?
yeah. I mean, yeah,
Okay,
absolutely not a problem.
cool. Yeah. Joy, how about you?
I probably won't be able to.
Okay,
Um, but I have been working all along on mine, and I think it's going better than I thought it would.
good.
I love the
Perfect.
trainings, and I think they're very helpful. And I do like having a solid, um, like something solid to fall back on, not just a wing it. I'm not really a wing it kind of person,
Hmm.
especially
Absolutely.
being so new. So it was very helpful, especially on Friday when I did have a big, big job interview. So it was
Absolutely.
very,
Yes.
very helpful to have all my ducks in a row and all my sheets in front of me that I could, show them and tell them all the things.
Yes. Okay. Yeah. Okay, so you would not be available for the in person.
No, I'm not.
Okay.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah, that's okay. Yeah. Um, I know Tyler's talking to somebody there, but Tyler, how about you? Would you be available for the in person in Wadena next Wednesday at 9?
I'll make it happen. I can do that.
Yeah. Cool.
Yep,
That would be
I'll
great. All
be
right.
there.
Well, here's the deal. We got most yeses, so we'll go ahead and set it up and find that central place and we'll let you know where it's going to be. Does that sound good?
Do have a question though. Will that be
Yeah.
recorded just so we can, watch everybody's later and gain more information and
Right. So I know the in-person will
Yay.
not be recorded. And so because really it's going to be here's what I've come up with, this is what I think, help me make it better. And it's going to be a back and forth between all of us. And
okay,
yeah, and that thing. So it's really practice. It's practice before you have to be in front of a client.
okay.
Yes. Yeah. Okay. Perfect. Thank you guys so much for coming. And we will see all your pretty faces next week on Wednesday.
You done?
Bye, guys.